Hello, friends. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining us yet again for another stirring interview. Well, with popular demand, we have this dignitary back with us, and today is going to be an extremely informative session. He is none other than Dr. Amit Goswami. Let me share some things about him before we start. Mr. Goswami is a former professor of physics at the University of Oregon, discovered in 1985 the solution to the quantum measurement problem, and developed a science of experience explicating how consciousness splits into subject and object. In India, in 2018, together with his collaborators, he established a quantum activism Vishwalayam. I'm going to share the logo and brand of the same. This is the Quantum Activism Vishwalayam. It is an institution of transformative education based on quantum science and the primacy of consciousness. Briefly, the purpose of transformational education is to help bring congruence into your life. Congruence between how you think, how you live, and how you make your living. You can do it all by incorporating quantum principles, integrating science and spirituality into your life. He is the author of numerous books, but today we are going to talk about his latest one, Quantum Activation. And the cover of the book is right at you. Quantum Activation Transforming Obstacles into Opportunities. He has co written this along with Carl David Blake and Gary Stewart. It helps readers tap into the higher consciousness that makes accomplishing new goals a possibility for everyone. They wanted to create a book that combines scientific research and principles with innate human spirituality in order to harness the best human tenacity. Well, let me tell you something about this book. I have been fortunate and lucky to be able to get a copy of this. You have to get a copy of this book. It is just brilliant. It's so informative. I mean, I got to know so many things which I never knew existed. And I'm sure Dr. Goswami will share with us what all the book is about. So, without further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Amit Goswami yet again on our channel. You are invincible.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was
Namaste.
a great. Namaste. Namaste,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you so much, Mr. Goswami. It is indeed a pleasure to yet again have you with us. I am
Oh,
totally delighted and I'm so excited to know more about Vishwalyam. We touched a bit last time in our interview, but today I'm sure we'll talk more about it and also on your insightful book, The Quantum Activation. It is brilliant. I mean, I was blown away with the information which is there, which, as I said, while introducing you, I did not even know that something like that exists. The entire consciousness healing. We'll talk about it. I want to hear it from your side.
no, no,
So, how
no,
do you feel?
no.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So yeah, the book is one of the simplest books that I have collaborated with. I'm very
Right.
happy about it, and it is about something that has been really the beginning point of the new work that culminated in the whole new quantum science that integrates science and spirituality. It all started with this slogan in the 1970s America. The slogan was, "We create our own reality." As a friend of mine, physicist Fred Alan Wolf, he coined the slogan. It became very popular right away. And believe it or not, even meditation groups started meditating on how to create your own reality. Namely, people who intend something. Usually at that time, Americans, so they're a little materialistic. So people would pray for a Cadillac or some other car or a big house
Right.
or all that kind of stuff. So that, of course, didn't work out very well. Um, uh, and people started realizing, well, it's not about that. It's something else. Slightly different. And indeed, then I started working on it about 10 years later. I discovered that, yes, it is true that the consciousness from which we create is the unity consciousness that the Vedanta talks about, that all spiritual traditions talk about, not the ego consciousness that we have. And that makes a huge difference because the purpose of the unity consciousness, oneness, Brahman, that's a very different purpose than the personal ones, people, right? But we can synchronize. So this is what the book is about: how to synchronize our purpose with the divine purpose. Very short way: how to get God on your side. It's as simple as
Right.
that. And if we do, then we can manifest anything. You know, like Anandamayi Ma, a great mystic. I don't know if you heard of her. She used to say that whatever she thought of, she called them chaos. The Hindi word, right? It means whimsy. So whatever, sometimes you think of whimsically something, like I want to go to Rishikesh, and it would happen in 2 days. So started thinking that, yeah, well, okay, so, but of course that takes such a pure mind where your mind cannot think of anything but what is in the divine mind.
Right.
So
Right.
that transformation is possible all the way there. Of course, you know, not every day people can reach that high state as Ananda Mahima, but
Right.
we can indeed go through a process, and we talk about that in the book. It's a process which has 7 steps. I won't mention it right away, but we will
Yes.
unfold
Yes.
it gradually.
Yes. The viewers
Um,
should go and get the book. Then they'd understand it.
I think people would enjoy the book because it is at once very personal and at once very essential for the whole world because
Right.
it's something that everybody needs and everybody should want.
Yes, there's something which really connected with me. As I said, I didn't know about that it existed. The constellation healing aspect, which you have mentioned, that is so beautiful. I mean, I was mind baffled to have to go through those words firstly, and then when I read about it, I was like, wow, do we actually realize the life that we are living has been influenced by so many ancestors of ours?
Yes, it is a little bit obscure until you realize that you tend to be born in the same family over and over again. Now, of course, in India, it's not really an unknown thing. Like people talk about musical gharana. What is that? Gharana, because they
Right,
know
right,
the same people come back over and over in the same family, and therefore they become such experts in that particular way of creating music that it's called a special gharana because that family is just going to produce that kind of music. So, in that way, family
right,
constellation therapy, is, especially in the West, it's more about people who are into a very, dealing with a very bad habit, namely child molestation, that kind of thing. And so the therapy is just so simple. Gary Stewart is a co-author in the book. He is the expert on family constellation therapy. I provided
right,
the theory, which is based on reincarnation, but he is the one who actually does it, and he's very good at it. And he says it's so simple because all it contains,
okay,
all it consists of, is a belief system change. A person has to believe that it is a corpse that is not his character. He can leave it. He can just throw it away. That karma does not belong to me. It's not my essence. It can be abundant. It can be one can quit from it. And once the
right,
person believes it drops away. That karma just goes away. And there is so much relief people feel, after going through some sessions with him. So many people who have healed from this very disastrous problem because, family constellation is very interesting because members of the family uh, in series they go through the same problem. All have this problem of, and they consider it a sin, and
right. Yes.
hidden, and everything is half-assed. Everybody is so ashamed, and they cannot live their life properly because of it. Finally, we are realizing, oh, it's just a 50% of therapy. The belief system changes involved, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, the entire life changes for the better once we are able to heal whatever the ancestors have had gone through. And this beautiful gift of life, we can actually resurrect in a much more higher conscious level and live a wonderful life ahead. Mr. Goswami, there's also one more thing. Yes, sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it is the same word for everything. These people are trying to, that is their intention. I get rid of the sin that I commit. Okay, and it's simply a belief system change. And similarly, what happens is a general situation, like I'll give you another example, which is one of my favorite examples. People often in marriage, uh, they love their wife, and yet they have lost the physical attraction. This is
Right.
quite common when they live an empty marriage because sexuality is an easy way of getting into intimate connection.
Zone. Yes.
To feel one. So without sex, the marriage just becomes very complicated, especially with children
Right.
around. You pay attention to the children, husband pays attention to the job, and marriage becomes kind of empty. And both people are very lonely. Now, wouldn't people
Hmm.
like to try to rekindle their sexual attraction? This is the kind of thing that we can work on with this technique
Right.
of quantum. Because what
Right.
happens again is that there is a belief here, which is that I am my brain, and it's the brain that get tired of our mate, because brain always likes a new mate. Brain
Correct.
molecules, the molecules,
Right.
dopamine, oxytocin, body hormone that are involved in sexuality. That
Right.
is how. So how do we bring it back? We bring it back by changing ourselves. We don't change the brain, but we change ourselves how we use the brain. That's what we
Hmm.
change.
Hmm.
And it's a belief system change basically with some additional work that one has to do. This is why a seven-step process which begins with
Right.
inspiration, goes into intention, and then intuition comes, okay, this is what I need to do. And then we follow
Right.
it up
Right.
with process.
Right. Yeah, the brain and the mind is so fickle that after you achieve something, after a certain point of time, the brain chemicals they get used to it. So the excitement after some time, it goes for a toss. I mean, I was just reading about happiness, in different aspects of life. I mean, before you get married, your level of happiness is, for example, over here. And because you're excited, okay, your life is going to change, you're going to be so happy, your level of excitement straight away shoots to the point of highest happiness that you can achieve. And then it's a downhill trend. So after marriage, maybe for a couple of months, 1 or 2 years, your happiness is right here. But then it comes back to the same one, same level where you were single, you're still the same. So the brain is so funny and so fickle that it assumes and we try to predict things that okay, I will be so happy, I will be after getting this kind of a partner, the looks and blah blah blah. I'm going to be super happy, but then we are in that illusion and get mistaken that is just an illusion. After some time, you will be back to square one. Yes, you will have a companion for life, but the hypothetical, that phase, that traversing of that path, if we understand that from a higher conscious level, by reading your book, I mean, that trajectory will be right here, and we'll be happy throughout. Obviously, with few ups and downs, which is quite normal for life. So yes,
Yeah. So using the quantum principles in our lives, we just change the boss. Who is the boss? It's not the brain, it's me. Because consciousness is the ground of being. Brain is possibility of consciousness. So I can choose my brain, but I have to know how to choose. Brain does have some
correct.
problems, negative emotions, and it wants to dominate and all that. But we can work on the domination. We don't have to dominate our spouses in order to be happy. In fact, the point is, domination is a huge problem. Simple hierarchy is a huge problem of
Yes.
relationship. You dominate the other, you're objectifying the other very quickly because that's the next step. dominate, you think that, okay, this is not a subject anymore. This is not a self like me anymore. But love cannot exist like that. Love
Right.
is a non-local connection. It's a connection without exchanging any signal. It's a connection to oneness, consciousness. And consciousness, if you assume that your spouse is not conscious, then you're missing the boat. How
So
is
true.
conscious is what makes it love. Otherwise, it's just having sex with a machine. No difference.
So true. So true. That brings us to the second question, Amitji. We heard about your quantum activism Vishwalam. You started in 2018. What inspired you to start on higher learning? What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, now it started with the movement quantum activism. I mean, really, if you look at it, quantum physics was founded in the year 1925-26. That's when Heisenberg and Schrodinger, two great physicists, discovered the equation for quantum physics, which is equation for
Okay.
all material objects, how they behave at the submicroscopic level. So far, so good. But when we looked at this quantum physics, we found that these objects are objects of possibility for consciousness to take up. This was the surprise. And this message, the discovery of consciousness chooses out of quantum possibilities to actuality, that happened in
Yeah, we
1985.
lost you for a second.
Okay, so this discovery that consciousness is the closer from quantum possibility, which makes possibility into actuality. That was my big discovery in 1985. But even that was so long ago, right? 35 years ago. So it's amazing that in 1925, actually 100 years ago, quantum physics was discovered, and full interpretation has been available for 35 years. And still, people hold on to this Newtonian worldview that the world is determined out there. No, the world is not determined. We experience the world and we create the world, co-create the world as we uh, enjoy the world. So it's experiencing the world is expiation. Without experience, there is no world out there. There is no manifest
Right.
world out there. So this kind of view, once you understand it, this is the belief system change that you have. Then you automatically realize, okay, so my brain is not there permanently independent of me. It is I who make the brain alive and capable of experience. So that I am the boss. I am the experiencer. I am what really controls the brain. Although the brain has some habits and I have to deal with that. I have to make it better. So indeed, people talk about rewiring the brain. That's a very common phrase now. Psychologists are using it. Everybody's using it. And this is what we teach in the
Right.
transformative education that we
Right.
do. We teach how to rewire your brain, how to optimize your brain, how to optimize it, synchronize it with the body. We have discovered that the heart is also very important, how to synchronize your brain and the heart. And this is where love relationships thrive. When women who strengthen the heart and men who strengthen the brain, when they combine their strength and help each other with their weaknesses, then there is no stopping their happiness. There's no stopping their intelligence. So that's the way to live. The answer is not predict that.
Yeah, it's so important. At the end of it, the mind and the heart needs to be congruent in order to live a life of equanimity. So you're so right.
Yes,
The congruence of the heart and mind is absolutely important.
yes, yes.
Awesome. So viewers, we are talking with Dr. Amit Goswami, who is a PhD, and we were just talking about his Vishwalayam, which actually offers masters and PhD. So if you want to get in touch with him regarding more information, you can log on to amitgoswami.org. And apologies, there is some internet connection, so please bear with us. So, Amitji, the next question that I would like to ask, who can be part of this Vishwalayam? Does one need to acquire a particular degree, or any common man can join this institution?
Okay, there are many ways one can get education, transformative education from us. Of course, the highest part, which does require a bachelor's degree in anything, will consider you, provided you are interested in transformation. That
Right,
we insist that unless you are
right,
interested in transformation, don't come to us because it's a transformative education. We teach you how to meditate, how to do yoga, how to do pranayama, how to do higher practices, and how to basically live in an expanded consciousness. Live happily.
right, right,
Um,
right,
this kind of thing we cannot teach without your consent, without your enthusiasm, without your participation. So, but that is the most important thing. Intellect is not here the most important thing. It's important to recognize that I want to live optimally. Yes, I want to optimize my intelligence. Yes, I want to optimize my heart as well, my capacity to love, my capacity
right,
to open. So if you have that,
right.
then come to us. Bachelor's degree is enough for master's and PhD. But we also have,
Okay,
if you don't have a degree, we also have certification program. We give you certificates in various ways. You can choose between several ways you can get a certificate, including quantum activism. If you want to be an activist, that's a little more qualified, but that's okay. We also give certificates for business people or health orientation, mental health
right.
orientation. And then people can just come to us and take one course, and that way they will give something that they'll be interested in. We haven't started this program yet, but we are right now. I'm in the middle of making a series called Sex, Love, and the New Physics, which will be released probably in a month or two. So in this
Right.
way, you can just come and
Oh,
take
wonderful.
one video course.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, Amitji. So, anybody
So
who is wanting to understand the higher consciousness, who wants to really understand how this thing works, I feel this is one of the only institutes in India who can give you the right guidance and make this exactly we there's some internet issue again. We went blank. So I was just saying, so this is one of the only institutes in India which will guide you into higher consciousness living. And who better than to learn under from Mr. Goswami? So thank you so much, Mr. Goswami, for starting this Vishwalayam. I am very thankful to you, and I'm sure our viewers and many, many millions of students out there and people out there who want to understand this science.
thank you so much.
G. Now, coming to the next question. So, in my journey till date for this channel, You Are Invincible, I've interviewed a few dignitaries. So, my understanding that people find their higher self through different means. For example, one of my first interviews was this guest who connected to his consciousness through crystal skulls. Then I had the privilege to come and interview you. So, you spoke about quantum physics. Then we had an amazing lady who connected and found her consciousness through Mother Earth. So, my question is there a definite way to find consciousness, or is it the path you choose that takes you towards consciousness to your higher self on your own, or you have to work towards it? How does that happen? Because there are so many ways people connect.
Yeah, well, people today like a little bit of dramatics, but it's really when we do it scientifically, it's actually the process is very simple. We ourself comes to us with a vehicle. We call it the brain, right?
Yes.
It's very important to understand the brain. So what happens in the brain is that when we experience something, brain makes a memory of it, and these memories build up. So we have in the brain, from our experiences of feeling, we have a vital body, You can think
Right.
of it like software made up from our own memories or
Right.
speech memory, that's the universal part of the software, and then personal memory. That's the software that I built during the formative period of my life. So when I grew up from a baby to adulthood. That's the vital
Right.
body. And then you have a mental body made out of the mental memory. When we say ego is start with this memory. Ego is the self which has forgotten that it's connected to the unity, connected with everything, connected with the actual
The
creator.
oneness, the universe. Yes.
It's all forgotten. What we
Right.
experience is still that we are experiencers. That experience has not totally disappeared. That remains.
Mm.
And we do experience that we have some freedom. We can choose between some alternatives, but these are all known alternatives. And then we discovered that we can even choose the unknown alternative, provided we go through a process. How is that? Because the brain not only has the memories and not only have the two states of consciousness, one is the inner self that mystics talk
Right.
about, the quantum
Right.
self, and personal self, the non-local
Correct.
self, one self, and the other one is the ego. But in
Correct.
between, there's a domain which we can call pre-conscious. It's a domain that consists of the brain memory. In other words, the stimulus comes, it percolates to the brain memory before it becomes actualized in my experience at the ego level. So the trick is very simple. If we meditate, meditation gets us an entry into the pre-conscious.
All right.
Into the imagine yourself here is the light, here is sunlight, and then there's a whole
Okay.
bunch of and here are you. This is also you, but you don't see yourself. So
Right.
you are very lost over here, but then you get the idea, "Oh, but if I penetrate the spot, maybe I'll get there to the real me." You start
Right.
penetrating the spot, and that process is called meditation and creativity. And through that process, get the experience of consciousness. So what these people have discovered that for them, a particular way of doing it was the most comforting. So they called them that their own method, and which is fine.
Mm.
So people discover a particular method, particular way of doing it, and that is all valid. However, the general technique is just and in India, we are so lucky. Bhagavad Gita has talked about it. Patanjali has talked about it
Right.
beautifully. So
Right.
all those methods here in Bhagavad Gita, they are all mentioned. Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga,
Correct.
Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. So what we have, Quantum Yoga is the integration of all of these yogas.
Right.
So if you were an Indian, grew up in this culture, you would already have some exposure to this 7,000-year-old wisdom that Indians grew up with. At this time I was here, I
Mm.
was, I got all my education in India, and indeed at that time we were taught some of these things. I don't know what the situation is now, not as good probably. Materialism has made extreme inroads even in India. So,
True. Very true.
but of course, people like you who are reversing this tendency, and very grateful for your presence. It's a delight
Thank you
to
so
be.
much.
And hopefully we'll get people back to again the root of being an Indian, which is that integrate science and spirituality. And this university that I have founded, it is the international university. People are
Yes.
coming to India, they love to come to India. We have already our first group who came to India just to have their first experience of,
Oh, wonderful.
yes, yes.
It must be so exciting for them to be actually do something like this. Such a different course per se. Otherwise, people are running behind degrees to get a good job, to get a better salary, to get big houses, money, blah blah blah. But to do something like this in the Vishwalayam is very, like you rightly said, that we need to get people back to the core. And with this course, I'm sure through the Vishwalayam, we'll be able to do that. And everything else, yes, it is important. But if we have our core centered and then we move forward with that thought and feeling, it is, I guess, multiplied phenomenally so many number of times rather than
And
just going in one track.
exactly. And people should not be afraid of, we are not asking anybody to renunciate. We're
Yes,
not asking into practice celibacy. Science has clarified everything like this. If you want to do all those things, you can. That's your choice. You don't have
true,
to engage in sexuality or anything. That is, as far as science is concerned, as far as transformation is concerned, as far your optimizing your brain with yourself is concerned, that does not at all depend on whether you use sexuality or not. On the other hand,
right,
it actually it is the easiest path. The sexual path is a devoted partner, exploring love. This is
yes,
the easiest path we feel to get to higher consciousness. And what happens is that you just function better. You
right,
business you function better as a businessman because your thinking, feeling, and livelihood are now integral. So that is the
correct.
basis of Karma Yoga that is enunciated first in the Bhagavad Gita. We just have taken it as far as it can go. And
Mm.
this is the power of this new science.
Yeah, I mean, because we only think about it from the ego perspective of the gratification, rather than thinking of it by doing that act, you're going into a higher consciousness. So it's a very different thought and a feeling towards that act. You know, if people can
Yes,
understand that, it's you're so correct. It's one of the purest way of achieving higher consciousness.
yes, and to recognize that the higher consciousness does not preclude the ego consciousness. So it's a higher consciousness based on integration of the ego and the quantum self. The previous concept was you leave the ego behind, you become identified with God or quantum self. So you leave the world
Right,
behind. But that is the concept that is not necessary. In science, you find, just as Bhagavad Gita enunciated first, Upanishadic knowledge is that you give up everything at the Sankara.
right,
The
right.
world is
That
illusion. But Bhagavad Gita says, no, the world is not illusion. You have to fight the evil.
mm,
You have to stay in the world, Arjuna. That's what Krishna says, right? And so science is supporting Krishna. Science is saying, yes, Krishna is right. We can stay in the world. We have to because the world is very important also. So if everybody left the world, then what will happen to the world? Why was the
exactly,
world?
exactly.
So we stay in the world and optimize our function in the world.
Mm,
Optimize our happiness, optimize our intelligence, optimize the way we experience the world. So
so
this
true.
is this is such a wonderful thing to devote our lives to, and it can only get better. Once you are in this path, it can only get better, and
So
humanity
true.
gets better with it.
So true. You know, Amitji, in the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha, in the last 8 years of his life, you're so aware about this. He wrote the Lotus Sutra, and in the Lotus Sutra, he has mentioned somewhere, I don't remember which chapter, but he said that earthly desires lead to enlightenment. If we all humans understand this point, you know, it will be a different realm. And the two words which you have used in the book, the quantum leap, if we can take a quantum leap towards this, that whatever desires we have actually will propel us in a direction if
Yes,
there's a point, if we center ourselves congruently with the heart and mind.
that's
So,
it. If we synchronize, it's all a matter of synchronizing ourselves with the movement of consciousness. There is a certain purpose of this world. The world was made and evolved with the purpose of reaching higher and higher what is possible, to
so
get the
true.
potentialities to the highest potentialities of consciousness, to realize that is the purpose of the world. So long as I align myself to that purpose, I
Absolutely.
can achieve all the desires that I have. That's the key. which desire is compatible with the purpose of the universe. So we choose our desire.
Correct.
Actually, why should I desire something that is not in alignment with the purpose of the universe? Why should I? I
Right.
mean, what's the necessity? It's not going to increase my happiness. It's only going to eventually produce unhappiness. So,
Right.
it is a very simple decision to take. Once you make that decision, you'll never fail in life. All failures
Very
will
true.
become a huge success.
So true. Dr. Goswami, I want to touch upon one aspect which you had mentioned in the book. In the 1970s, there was a certain point in your career where you actually felt lost. Would you like
Yes,
to
sir.
share a little bit about that aspect, about what you went through and how you were able to bounce back, with the essence of, no, I can do this with the higher consciousness. That is something you have very beautifully shared. So if you can please share that and elaborate a bit with the viewers,
I'll,
will be fantastic. Because
I'll love
why I want to ask is that because of whatever we all are facing in globally right now, it's such an uncertain time. And after great evil, great good will follow. No doubt about that. That's again by Shakyamuni Buddha. Uh, but the live examples, and we're fortunate to have you on board with us. So, with your experience, we will definitely get inspired and encouraged. So, if you can please throw some light on how you tackled that situation.
I was in the bottom of my pit because, I was very unhappy and all this. I was, however, quite successful in my academic pursuit. Indeed, I was well on my way to full professorship at the university that I was working with. I had a research grant and all this stuff. So success. However, I was unhappy. Unhappy why? Because my life and the work that I did, there was just no symphony.
Mm,
And one time I did that. But I didn't know that. I only
mm,
knew that I was miserable. So I go to this conference to give a speech, which one should, one should be proud, one should be
right,
happy.
right, right.
I was perhaps a little bit proud of it, but the point is that the pride went away as soon as I did my spiel and sat down. The next speaker went and began a huge amount of insecurity and jealousy on my part because I thought, okay, this speaker is so much better. Why did I have to do such a, I felt inadequate. I felt inadequate. I felt insecure. I didn't give such a good speech, and I didn't get so much attention. And the more I felt that way, the more jealous I felt to all the speakers that
Mm,
I subsequently didn't talk. So the whole day I was just jealous, jealous, jealous. And the jealousy did
wow.
not even stop. In the evening, we were at a party, and of course, nobody's talking about physics anymore, which is should be good. I should be relaxed, and there is jolliness, drinking, food, good, relaxed talk, and so forth. There are even a few females, but then I started another form of jealousy. I was married, but no matter, I wanted attention of the women, and nobody's paying attention. So then the
Right.
jealousy began. Why am I not even more handsome, even more dashing, even more desirable? And so like this, jealous, jealous, jealous. And, I had a huge heartburn. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I went outside, which fortunately the conference was on the beach in California, and the ocean air hit my chest, and I had this absolutely unexpected thought. Why do I live this way? And the thought
Mm,
was immediately followed by the conviction that I don't have to. I can synchronize my thinking, living, and livelihood. And that gave me the inkling that this is the kind of wholeness that I have to live. So it told me the
mm,
purpose of my life really is to find wholeness with my life. I have
mm,
to make thinking, feeling, thinking, living, and livelihood in a congruent set of activities. not disjointed. One goes another way, one goes this way, and when I was working, I was thinking of statutory things, and living and expecting how to love, and I didn't know how because what I studied, what I explored in my course of my day had nothing to do with things that we care about, any of this.
Mm,
So I decided to change that. I wanted to find physics that will make me happy, and that led me to quantum physics, that led me to consciousness, that led
the
me
happy
to
physics.
happy physics.
Right. So it can be said that you actually transform the software, that is your mind, the internal self, the consciousness, and replaced it so that the hardware could understand the real self, which you had explained a little while earlier, the software and the hardware. That is how the aha moment that happened to you.
The aha moment, and it was a sort of a aha moment, but of course, the aha moment that follows a creative process. This came unexpectedly. It was aha moment. It is an intuition from consciousness.
Right,
Intuition
right,
brings us of a creative process. But
right,
one that, as I started meditating, I had some those meditative experiences, which you can call Patanjali calls
right.
them samadhi. Sounds very exalted, but anybody can have them. Today we call them peak experiences. They're not really such a big deal. Although to the
Right.
person who it is very big deal because it transforms you. So, and then of course, I also made some breakthroughs in the intellectual path, which is the jnana part of it. And that was very valuable. And then in relationship also, I started making progress. I found love. And so,
Mm,
there were three prongs of my life, thinking, living, and livelihood, and the all started all becoming congruent. And
wow.
now I live fairly congruent life. This is the biggest happiness of my life, that it is congruent. I don't separate. And so happiness, intelligence, these things are much more natural, which is very nice
Absolutely.
to do. And everybody can do it. And that's why I got into teaching. This teaching was started very recently. Our first year was 2019. We started in July 2019. Before that, we had a pilot program.
Right,
Uh, yeah, after this formal program started only in 2019. But we already have now the
right.
second students have come. And it's really huge enthusiasm that students bring, huge enthusiasm that we bring. It's a family. So we are
Right.
expecting to enlarge this family, and hopefully many more people will come. And
Yes, yes,
uh,
absolutely. I'm sure the world needs something like this right now. And I'm glad that through your Vishwalim, they will have an opportunity to delve into it. So, Mr.
yeah,
Goswami, something in your book which I came across again in this book, you very beautifully mentioned about the doobie doo. That is something
yeah,
which initially, there used to be this animated series, and I heard about this terminology in that. So it was like, okay, I know about this, but I don't know about it. And when I read about it, it was so inspirational and from a heightened consciousness to be able to understand what it really means. So would you like to share with the viewers this anecdote, doobie doo? It's
yes,
beautiful.
yes,
Viewers, you should listen to this carefully. Yes,
yes.
yes, Amit,
Or,
please go ahead.
no, I am one of the exponents also of the theory of creativity. Nobody
Sorry,
understood.
we lost you again. There is some
Okay.
internet issues today.
I
Sorry, viewers.
yes,
Yes,
no,
Amit ji, if you can please start again.
okay. So I was also an exponent of the theory of creativity. The people discovered the creative process. The field researchers discovered long time ago, 1926. The creative process has four stages. The first stage is called preparation. Second stage is called incubation, like a bird sitting on an egg doing nothing. Third stage is the
Right,
discontinuous insight, and then the fourth stage is called manifestation. Manifestation preparation is easy to understand. Now, usually we think that preparation and doing, manifestation, doing, that's what creativity is about. Surprise to the researchers was that no, also has incubation in there. What is incubation? Why do we have to relax?
Mm,
And then it is continuous insight. Why does the insight come as a surprise? It's a huge moment of transition kind of thing that we are not expecting. So those surprises, those
mm,
two stages is what I explained with quantum physics, but I didn't still feel very comfortable because I have been creative in my own life by that time especially, and that was not really jiving with my own experience. So I'm thinking away, preparing away, and um, it went on like this for 2 months. And then one night I saw a dream. And in this dream, I saw some stick figures. And the stick figures are coming on a stage, and I'm sort of
right.
watching them, and they're ambling, they're dancing, they're joshing, talking, all this stuff. Do. The voice from the background said, these are the angels of doing. And then these angels went away, and another
Right.
bunch of angels came, another bunch of stick figures, and they sat down and they started meditating. And the voice from the background said, these are the
Okay.
angels of doing. And then they went away, the angels of doing came back, and then they went away again, the angels
Okay.
of being came back, and this went on for a while, and then when I woke up, I was singing that function at the window. That's how that's how the
That's
process
beautiful.
gelled in my mind. Yes, it was very nice. I have had such experiences. This was the second time that such a momentous event came to a dream. The first time that happened was I was working on, I was not even working on it. I was really thinking about the reincarnation, how to explain it, and all this stuff. And I was not taking it very seriously on one hand. On the other hand, I
Mm,
didn't take it seriously. But how that one approach, I have no idea. I was just a physicist at the time. I was mainly a physicist. And then I see this dream.
mm,
And in the dream, it's just a voice. And the voice is speaking to me. And then the voice becomes louder. And I'm hearing it more and more clearly. So eventually the voice
right.
became an abstraction and it said, Tibetan Book of the Dead is correct. It's your job to prove it. And
Wow. Okay.
with that, I woke up. And when I woke up, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Yes, I have to do it. I mean, that's an admonition from the higher consciousness, which I cannot pass
Wow.
up.
That's surreal. That's so amazing. It's like a medium through which you got an answer. That's beautiful.
So intuitions are like that. They are kind of summons from God, if you will, and unity consciousness. And when you hear that, you have to act. You have to
Mm,
act. And that is what makes our desire successful. When we act from, when I align those desires to how we need to do, what we need to do, how we intuit that we have to do,
right.
then those desires come true. We just have to follow through with it.
Mm,
Seven stages. Let me get enumerate for all the listeners like that. So the
sure.
first stage we have mentioned, that's the inspiration. That's just the
Right.
constant. Second stage is, this is very, very important, intention. Remember, quantum physics says we have to choose. So before we can choose from quantum possibilities, from the unity consciousness, we have to intend. This is why
Intent.
intend. We align your desire with the movement of consciousness. So
Right.
intend in a specific way. We intend from the ego first, but then we say this intention is for everybody. This is not just for my welfare, but it is for the good of everybody.
Right.
And then with the third step of the intention, this is where we align ourselves with the movement of consciousness. We say that this intention, let this intention be in alignment. in synchrony with the movement of consciousness, with the purpose of
Mm, mm,
the whole. And then
right.
the fourth stage, we all know what the fourth stage is. We have to end in silence. That's where we are granted to wish. So we end up.
Yes.
So if we do this, sooner or later, intuition will come in that silence. So that's the third
Mm,
stage. Inspiration, we always should intend in an inspired state. Inspiration,
right.
intention, then intuition, and then the critical. That's also four
Right.
eyes. First
Right.
eye, we don't say preparation, but there is another name for preparation. It's mostly imagination. So call it imagination.
Correct.
For unconscious processing, this is what the technical name for incubation is, but otherwise call it incubation. Incubation is what we actually do. We relax, like
Correct.
birds sitting in bed.
Staying
And
still.
then in
Yeah.
that's also an eye, and for manifestation is the implementation. That's also an eye. So seven eye plus. Follow it and you'll get
Right.
your wish.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goswami, for sharing this. They're so such simple steps, all seven of them. If we each one of us are able to sink in these seven steps and apply it in our life, I'm sure a lot of things will change dramatically. It's so simple.
It is. When you
Wonderful,
get it,
Amitji. So there's something else also I wanted to discuss. In your book, you have very sorry, you're saying something.
yeah, no, I lost you there. Please
Yes.
ask the question again.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about what is your insight for Akashic records? You've briefly mentioned about it in the book.
But that is actually the solution of the reincarnation problem. So after that, after I got that admonition, Tibetan Book of the Dead is correct.
Ji,
Book of the Dead is nothing but a description of soul's journey after a soul after death. Now, Tibetan Book of the Dead sort of it's a Buddhist book, so they never use the word soul, but it sort of implies that an entity is traveling through all the after death bardos. Bardo means passage. That's the description. Okay, so but the idea is that it's eventually reincarnated. That's the sixth bardo. Sixth bardo is also the bardo of life that begins another life. So some essence from you goes out, and that essence travels. Now in the Upanishad, that essence is called karma, and the Upanishad recognize that this karma is akashic record. It's not in space and time. Akasha means outside of space. Akasha is space. Akasha is
right.
outside of and outside of space time. This
Ether, space. Yes,
exactly the domain of non-locality, domain of potentiality that we call it in quantum language. So this is where
right.
we call it non-local memory. So what kind of memory is it? It's not memory of events. It's the memory of your capacity. What capacity do you have? And memory of your patterns of habits. So it's
Okay,
two kinds of memory. One is what defines you, your character. That is part of what goes with you. And the other part is the habits that you have uh, to good karma, which strengthens your desires and goals and meanings of life, and bad karma, which is a side effect that you have created because we are not fully knowledgeable, and when you do things with not having the full knowledge, you make a lot of mistakes, develop a lot
right.
of bad. We are talking about one bad habit when we talk about family constellation therapy, right?
Yes,
Like
yes, exactly.
so that karma is something you want to get rid of in your next life, and getting rid of it does not mean that we do it. No, getting rid of it means we drop it. We drop the association with it. Otherwise, we'll continue doing the same bad karma if we continue doing that.
Correct. Generation after generation will keep happening.
We just have to leave association with it. No, this does not belong to me. I don't want to make this part of my character. Whereas the good karma,
Correct.
eventually, I want to make part of my character. How do I do it? You have to take a quantum leap. So, this is what part of Akashic memory is. It's your character and habitat. This is what the real meaning of karma is. Karma is not a tit for tat kind of thing that normally people think of.
Right,
Um,
right,
that's not what the Upanishads mean. Karma is propensity. Karma is like samskara. Buddhist word is better.
correct. Yes, yes. But it's so amazing to think about it, Amit ji. Imagine every living being who has ever existed on this planet Earth. Every memory, every minutest detail of that life is there in these Akashic records. I mean, to think about it
You know,
itself
yes,
is so huge and humongous. I mean, to the common man's ideology, it's like beyond. It's like a fantasy land. Ki how is it possible to have this? It's like a supercomputer of the universe. To have
yes.
everything, pinned in, and everything is there, all the details, like a cloud that we have.
And it's all a question of accessing. How do we access it? And if we learn how to access some of it, life becomes more fulfilling. That's his intelligence. You know,
Right,
Bhagavan, Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yoga karma supausalam. Skillful means. That is yoga. So
right.
when we learn to skillfully use our capacities to explore the potentialities, explore our non-local memories, explore the propensities we have got from our past lives, and
Hmm.
fulfill this divine purpose, like love and goodness and wholeness, then that is the way to be happy and be intelligent.
Right, right. Wonderful, Amitji. It always is a pleasure to speak with you. I want to ask this one last question. When we speak about constellation healing, and right now we spoke about the Akashic records. So, to my limited understanding, if a person has an access to Akashic records, would he or she be able to change and heal all the generations, or does one need to go through the entire constellation healing process itself, or oneself, by elevating oneself to the high consciousness, have access to the Akashic record? And for example, if I'm talking about me, so do I need to undergo the constellation healing, or by delving into the Akashic records and accessing it and going to previous lives, will I be able to change my coming generations by this life itself, or it's like both are separate?
For such some people, it does require some past life regressions. That helps. Other
Okay,
people don't need that. Other people can just hear the situation and just control it. So it can
okay,
be very fast or it can be very slow depending on how deep this is. And as far as
right,
forgiveness, sometimes just one person repeatedly comes back in the same family. So it becomes a constellation only because it's the same person reincarnating every now and then, creating havoc. And the others are just got into the whirlpool of that dynamic. For example, if you have abused a child, then the child would also become an abuser, and it goes like that. So many others are involved with your karma. When you drop the karma, then lot of healing will take place. Lot of healing because nobody is perpetuating anymore, right?
right.
And so yes, it can produce a lot healing on mass. It may not also be so complete. It still depends. That part depends. But still,
Right.
it can be a very powerful work in an entire constellation. This is why it's called constellation therapy. It's a therapy
Yes,
of the entire family.
exactly. The ancestral intelligence, which you have mentioned in the book, AI.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. I'd heard only about the artificial intelligence. When I came across ancestral intelligence, I like, oh wow, this is also AI. It's it's amazing, seriously.
Yes,
But yes,
yes.
so viewers, we have had another stirring interview and conversation with Dr. Amit Goswami. I hope all of you have thoroughly enjoyed it. I have been delighted. I have really enjoyed this, and so much of information, which for me it never existed. And for me, I love to learn things. I want to know about more things. But after reading this book of yours, after having a real-time conversation with you, like so many bulbs have just started to glow right now. Oh wow, this is also a possibility. This is also a possibility. And there's so many things to be able to learn, grow, and inspire our own self, become congruent with this entire higher level of consciousness is really amazing, Amiji. Really, thank you so much for enlightening me. And I'm sure our viewers also have been a delight to have you on board. If you want to share a few more things with the viewers, please go ahead.
Thank you, Abhishek. It's really great. I just want to say that it is always a pleasure to join you in a conversation like this. You're such a lively person. And to the
Thank
listeners,
you so much.
please remember that help is available. We can create our own reality, provided we synchronize with God. We get God on our side. That's the key to success in a world which is bugged with too much elitism. In this world, how do you succeed if you're an ordinary person? You know, elites have it all. They monopolize everything if you want to live in that condition, Newtonian way. In the Newtonian world, you have no chance of success. Join the quantum world, it's full of potentiality, and then success will come later. Only one condition. You have to be desirous of success. Some
Yes.
transformation is necessary, creativity is necessary, but then you can have everything that you have ever wanted. Really. Thank you
So
all so much.
true. So beautifully said, Amitji. So when the disciple is ready, the master will appear. So the master is already here. So I hope all the viewers, the disciples, the future disciples understand this, that if you really want to achieve all your desires in the right way, being congruent with your mind and heart, the master is always there. He's with us. And please get your hands on his latest book, Quantum Activation. It is mind boggling. It is beautiful. And to get in touch with him regarding the quantum activation, QAV, the Vidyalay, please get in touch with him on amitgoswami.org. It's the Quantum Activism Vishwalayam, the Institute of Higher Learning, which gives you certificates, master's degree, and also a PhD. So that's amitgoswami.org. Thank you so much, Dr. Amit. It has been a delight and a pleasure to be with you again. I hope we can have many more such enlightening conversations with you. Please take good care of yourselves, viewers, and please take care, Amiji. We'll see you soon on You Are Invincible with many more enlightening episodes and also dignitaries like Mr. Goswami. Take good care and we'll see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you, Amitji. Please take care. Namaste.
Yes.